Hello, very good evening to you and welcome to special coverage here on the BBC News Channel of the Michael Jackson Memorial Service in Los Angeles. So we're not bringing you on the channel the 6 o'clock news as we normally do at this time, because thousands of fans and the world's media are in Los Angeles for that public memorial service for Michael Jackson, which for sheer spectacle and extravagance looks set to rival the singer's most memorable shows.
Some of the best-known names in the music business will be performing, and the service will be broadcast to an audience of millions around the globe. Artists including Stevie Wonder and Mariah Carey will play at the event taking place in a few moments' time there at the Staples Center, which has become the focal point for thousands of fans arriving in LA from around the world and around the United States. Because of that memorial service taking place there shortly.
Yes, and let's just show you that is the scene there live at the Staples Center. And as we were saying there in our headlines, the golden casket with Michael Jackson's body in has arrived there just a few minutes ago. A hearse carried the flower-draped casket in a motorcade which came down the freeway, which had been specifically shut down, sections of the freeways, to speed that motorcade through the Los Angeles traffic. And then it arrived after a private service a little bit earlier on with the family, Michael Jackson's family, at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park. And then it arrived after a half an hour journey or so at the Staples Center in Los Angeles.
Now, the significance of the Staples Center is it's actually where Michael Jackson had been rehearsing for his run of London concerts, his goodbye, his farewell concerts that were due to begin there this month. So that's where the rehearsals had been taking place, and that's where he will make his final appearance in that golden coffin, as Ben mentioned, as it arrived a short time ago. And cheers from the queue of people waiting outside as footage on big screens showed that coffin decorated with red flowers emerging from the Forest Lawn Cemetery, where a private ceremony had been held to be transferred to the Staples Center.
These are just pictures we recorded a little earlier of that casket leaving the Forest Lawn Memorial Park, where family and friends had spent about half an hour in the service, including Michael Jackson's parents, who had been there at that special service. And then the motorcade of Rolls-Royces, Cadillacs and Range Rovers from the Jackson's parents' home in the San Fernando Valley had gone to that service at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park. And then from there it was taken to the Staples Center. Let's talk now to the music journalist Jacqueline Springer, who's with us here in the studio as we watch some of these pictures. Jacqueline, really utterly extraordinary event, and the demand for tickets, I mean, as in death, as in life really, the demand for tickets.
1.6 million people applied.
1.6 million people.
People who weren't based in the States were feeling, rightly, set aside, forbidden from actually applying, because you just wouldn't qualify. You had to be a US citizen to actually be awarded these tickets. And you've got all these people recounting their tales of, like, I was praying to my mother that I would get these tickets, and I screamed, and people were twittering when they actually were brandishing these sort of Willy Wonka golden tickets, for want of a better phrase.
And this, of course, is not even to see the singer live. This is after his death. The momentum of his fame just does not go away, does it?
I mean, even statistically, he continues to be of interest after, having passed away. And, he's got 13 singles in the UK Top 20 at the moment. He's got 5 albums in the UK Top 40 at the moment as well. And those are incredible sales. He's got the #1 selling UK album at this time. So in life, he was the biggest selling singer of all time. And now in death, there was a raffle to actually see his casket.
And this memorial service that we're going to see tonight, in some ways it's like a huge arena gig, really.
Yes.
Do you think it's a fitting goodbye to Michael Jackson?
Well, I don't think there was any way that you could actually sort of coalesce, private grief and and this sort of almost this demand, this expectation that the public had a right to actually want, and you know, they were seeking to mourn him. I'm surprised that the actual coffin is going to be taken to the Staples Centre. I thought that that the memorial would happen and that the family would actually have a funeral on a different day. I didn't think the two would align themselves, would merge in that way, and that's something clearly that the family have decided. And you know, often all of the siblings who have been successful, like Janet or even Jermaine to a lesser degree, they've always talked about the fans. And when Michael was here back in March saying, you know, it's for you, it's for everything, we do tend to, we can't really see things from their perspective. So there has to have been a decision that, you know, the fans deserve to, and even for Michael to be placed amongst this sort of...
For them to be in the same space
Yes.
as their idol.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been so much speculation, so much guesswork, really, because we haven't really known full facts. We still don't know for sure where his final resting place will be, do we?
We don't know really where his final resting place, or you know, whether or not he'll be cremated, or how his body, for want of a better phrase, will be actually disposed of. We don't know what killed him, what caused his death. We also don't know what's going to happen to so many other things, you know, with regards to the parenting of his children and so forth. So I think in this way, this is a way that people can actually remind themselves of the tragedy of a situation whereby somebody has lost their life, and people who have never met him and never will want to actually mourn someone that they feel that they know.
He was a phenomenon, an icon in his lifetime, but it looks like he's becoming even bigger in death. In an interesting quote today from President Obama while he was in Moscow, saying there are certain people in our popular culture that just capture people's imaginations, and in death they become even larger. Do you think Michael Jackson is going to become bigger in death than he was in life?
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, it sounds very cynical, but, you know, there is industry in death. There are posthumous charts. You know, people continue to buy John Lennon's material, Bob Marley's material. You know, and everyone who was alive and could remember when John Lennon was killed, Imagine went straight back up to #1. And there is this feeling that people want to grasp onto something. And you know, there is always the repackaging of things. You can remember when I think it was the California Raisins, when they decided to actually run that promotion to Marvin Gaye's Heard It Through the Grapevine, and then all of a sudden people really wanted to have some sort of, you know, greatest hits from him. So there is an industry in the death, but it's just how that's going to be officiated by who will have the rights to his music and so forth. It will run and run, absolutely.
He, of course, was a huge name. Some huge names in their own right are going to be performing in the next few hours.
Yes, I mean, I'm, you know, again, I when I first heard about the coffin, I thought, oh, that's not right. And then there was speculation that his brain won't be, that he'll be buried without his brain. So everything has been, I've had a cynical approach to it. But I could also see that, you know, some of the people who were his label mates at Motown, like Stevie Wonder, like Lionel Richie, would be there. But there will be omissions as well, because there are some people who feel that, like Elizabeth Taylor said, that this isn't fitting, this isn't how she imagines it, you know, to say goodbye to him. And also there are people like Quincy Jones who said that he just cannot bear the idea of going to another funeral. So we have to just bear in mind that people mourn in different ways, and not everyone who wants to mourn him, who knew him, wants to perform.
We're just seeing pictures there of Jesse Jackson among the lineup of very famous people from the world of, well, politics in his case, but also pop and showbiz, of course. Stevie Wonder,